We're gonna check out the side yard micro garden today. Just kind of looking back here, kind of the back side of the front of the lot, if you will. You can see some corn coming up. We have some corn there and there and there and there and over there and over there, and probably some squash tucked in there. A couple more corns over in there. It used to be a tree here, and it got ground down 5, 6, 7 years ago or more, and it's relatively fertile at that point. Have some black-eyed Susan coming up in the yard here, and a native iris. You can tell that it's the native variety because it's 3-lobed. Very beautiful flowers. Kind of there to catch water in the crease of the yard. You can see the crease very nicely now that it's mowed. The jujubes, this one is a lang. This one evidently rooted very nice when it was installed last year, and it's leafed out very well. I did anchor into the ground and use a little bit of fishing wire to push that one up a little bit. It was leaning. More native flowers in here. We do have the wild jujube right down in there. It looks like there's also something that I tossed out. Will that be buckwheat next to it? Let's pull that buckwheat out. Well, maybe we'll keep the buckwheat. It's not rooted too close. But yeah, a lot of buckwheat that I threw in as well. You'll see, yeah, little buckwheats. That's more of a ground cover. Yeah, it's all over, intermingled with the black-eyed Susan. The other, this one got browsed by the deer heavily. All of these supposed to be deer resistant, but you know, the deer are pretty hungry around here. So I lashed up a little bit of Balm because that will, well, it's evidently smelly enough that the deer don't like it. They don't want to get their face near it. They don't want to smell like it. And maybe it'll just shield a little bit from it getting browsed. We'll see. But going around, more of the same black-eyed Susans. We have the, whatever it was in there, black-eyed Susan. And some fun flowers. Have a little bit of that sometimes. Right, there is a section of grass here, and originally that was to fit a car down. You can see it's pretty much, you know, a drivable width. Then we could get around and get to the back gate going in. And originally I made that so that we could get an old engine lathe out, and I have since sold the engine lathe, so I'm thinking maybe planting a tree just right here in the middle, maybe a couple of crabapple trees. We'll do just a little preview of all of these flowers, but we have the Balm over here. It's going to be a later flowering variety. We have an earlier flowering short variety Balm down here. Just a beautiful, stunning flower. Just stunning. When the bees are really out and about with the later season Balm, the bees will just sleep in it. They'll take naps all day. They'll take naps all night, and it's quite amazing to come out here early in the morning before the sun crests over the horizon. The bees will still all be asleep, and you can just kind of come and surprise them. Looks like a little bit of rye. We have some rye springing up here from last season, just all kind of intermingled. A lot of stuff that I don't actually recognize. These flowers, I do not know. I've never seen them. There's a lot of flowers this year that are coming up that I'm not familiar with. I threw these packets out of wildflowers. Let's see, we have some indigo down here. I'm not sure what this is. It's a very, it has a texture like a lamb's ear, but not as fuzzy. These plants, I'm not familiar with them either, but there seems to be a line. One thing about Midwest flowers, naturalized flowers that are from the area, is that they'll be permanent. the roots will not die off. And so maybe I did have one of these or two of these last year in the same spot, but it's not familiar. This one as well, a new one coming up, almost looks like a swamp milkweed or something. We'll see. And then here's regular milkweed. Lots of milkweed coming up this year, just all over. The monarchs eat that. I don't know if it'll be enough for them. Then let's see. We come around and it turns. This is all goldenrod all in here, and then there's these other flowers that'll come up later in the season that they're they're little yellow flowers. I'm not sure what they are. They look like miniature sunflowers almost. We have some walking onions, Egyptian onions. What's neat about these is it's actually onions on the end. They don't make seed, they make onions. And so this is another onion that's already growing on the stalk, and I've seen them to where the little onions coming off will start to flower, and they'll have more onions on top. So it'll be an onion in the ground growing a clump of onions up here, and then the clump of onions will grow like this one, and there'll be another onion on that, and even that little onion will grow a little clump of onions sometimes off of it. It's kind of funny. Onions, growing onions. Egyptian walking onions. You can see some coreopsis here. There's a lot of coreopsis also mixed in. Coreopsis blooming right there. Next to it, it looks like we have more black-eyed Susan and maybe more black-eyed Susan. Lots of that around. Getting into our oregano here. I chopped that down last winter and it sprang back real nice, as well as thyme. Big patch of thyme, all flowering. Lots of little pollinators. Happy little bitty pollinators. Yeah, hopefully you could catch that little bitty bee. Oh, there we go. Come on. There. Some parsley coming up from last year. I did not plant it. A couple of potatoes I must have missed last year as well. Springing up. Some things that I planted that I couldn't tell you what, and mixed in with the grass. And then a mix of kales and other things. This one is kind of a furry, spinachy sort of, I forget what it is. There's so many things, so many names to remember. I believe this is lead plant here, native flower, lead plant. We come around, we have a little path in here with our fruit trees. Some varieties of apples. This one has, 9 fruits that made it this year. They seem to be doing well, better than last year. No fruits on this one. But if we look down, we'll have, of course, more wildflowers. And then coming into corn, more corn. Over here, got some corns in there, squash, corn. And then we also have these honeyberries, which is like a blueberry, but it's not in the blueberry family, so it doesn't need a acidic soil. More, let's see, honeyberry there. I believe this is coreopsis. We have kale that's bolting up, more corn, just all interdispersed in here. More of our squash back there. Yeah, and honeyberry hiding. Then a lot of coreopsis. Big stand of coreopsis with tons of frog eggs hiding. All in there. Then a few chokeberries that are, hidden away from the deer browse down in here so far this year. They haven't really messed with it. And on this side, on the street side, we have lots of blackberries. If we look up close, every one of these bushes. Every one of these bushes is going to have lots of blackberries on them, just tons of blackberries. And these are native blackberries, so they are very aggressive. We also have some black raspberries hiding. You can see the stem is black. Right. black stem. Yeah, they're all in there. They will cross-pollinate each other. They seem to bloom at the same time. You can see the new growth here, very almost blue-looking stem, powdery. And then a hybrid raspberry that popped up of some sort. It's definitely a raspberry. I've planted no raspberries. This right here, you can tell because of the stem. The stem is different. And it's not like the black raspberry. So we'll see what that is. Interesting. I didn't plant it there. Well, then we have some kales and broccolis that are all bolted. They're in the same family. They're all brassicas. They have bolted. Tons of pollinators on them. I'll maybe save some of the seed just for crossbreeding. There's a couple different types of kales and the broccoli, of course. So it'll make who knows what. Who knows what. A little native Columbine. You see the red flowers right there. Some lavender. Oh, onion right in front of her face. Some onions that turned out to be cold hardy. They were originally chives from the store. And then all this is lavender down in here. And I've already poked in the next round of beans, and there's some more corn that was poked in before the last rains that it doesn't seem to have come up quite yet. But that, yeah, just kind of a nice light, nice evening here. It's all coming along. Just a micro side yard garden.